My name's Andre, and I have curated the brand Success to Selling, which is exactly as it sounds. It's helping you be successful when selling on Amazon. And there's a few reasons why I started this brand and a few reasons why I'm so passionate about it. So today I'm going to touch on a few of those. And of course, we're going to go through an array of tools and assets that you can use to help you be successful selling on the Amazon platform. So let's just go a few years back in time, 6 actually. I quit my full-time job and I started building passive income from various e-commerce businesses. And it's just kind of funny thinking back about 6 years. Sounds like such a long time, such a long time ago. But honestly, it's like a snap of the finger. I remember quitting my full-time job, taking the leap. You guys probably don't know this. Maybe some of you who know a little bit about my past. I was a personal trainer. I was a fitness director at just like a big corporation gym. I had like 18 contractual employees that worked for me. I had a 401k, I had health insurance, I had all the things that a normal person had. And I made the leap. I made the leap to leave my corporate job, to invest in myself, to invest in becoming self-sufficient with what I wanted to do. And I own a fitness company outside of my e-commerce brand, but I knew that I needed something else, and Amazon was a big gateway for me. So I, really, really, really am thankful that I found Amazon in the first place. And now today I have 4 businesses inside and outside of e-commerce. It's just giving me a door, a gateway to do so many different things. So that's a little bit of a synopsis of where I've started, where I've come today. And one of the biggest things is finding your reason why. And I always think of like motivation as one of my big factors. And of course, it's a motivation that goes up and down. You have to find something that you're constantly motivated by. And for me, there's a few things. Number one is my family. My wife and I love to do a lot of things together. So I'm always motivated to support us. She feels the same way, or she's motivated to support us as well. So we work together as a team, but she's my motivator. If I'm down, she can kind of pick me up, give me some words of encouragement. One of my second big motivators is the automotive niche. One of my companies is in the automotive niche. I'm extremely passionate about cars. You could probably ask my wife. She's probably sick of hearing about all the car talk. But again, I just use it as a motivator, right? And you can use it monetarily to motivate you. Yes, you want to buy a nice car, so you have to make money to do so, right? You want to make money to support your family, right? That's just part of it. Another one of my big motivators is travel. My wife is actually from South America. So before I met her, I had actually never been out of the States. Again, I'm in New York, and we got together and I started traveling. I went to South America, Central America, all over Europe and Spain, Italy. I go to Finland at the end of this year, but all that is possible because I have the ability to do so. So just as a synopsis, find your reason why. Why are you wanting to branch off? Why are you wanting to do something else from what you're currently doing? Is it to be financially free? Is it to give you the ability to travel, the ability to support your family, the ability to, invest in something like a car because you're passionate about it, or, whatever that is? That obviously will look different for everyone. So find your reason why and really do something with that. And honestly, that is how Success to Selling was created, because I had these motivators that I needed to fulfill. I needed to fulfill even more, right? So that is how I started Success to Selling. I want to get into what we're going to cover in this webinar. Again, if you guys are just joining, make sure to jot down your questions. That way I can answer them at the end. We're going to take a long time at the end of this webinar so I can answer everyone's questions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of diversity in the questions as well, just because we're all at different stages. Some folks might be stuck at the product research phase. Some folks may have already launched their product and need some help, getting those sales locked in. So in this webinar, we are going to cover a few things. And this webinar is for you if you want to make some passive income, right? If you want to quit your 9-to-5, if you want to be your own boss, if you have the desire to have financial freedom, getting real life business skill sets, all of those major key points we're going to touch on today. And, you might be saying, well, how does this, how does this webinar help me with gaining these different business skill sets? If you sell on Amazon, you will have like a bachelor's degree in business within like a few months. I swear there's so many different ins and outs that you have to learn that I have spilled over into my other businesses. So for me, all of those things are super valuable. So let's go over a few things that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to hit on each one of these topics separately. I just want to mention a few of them now. We have the in-depth product research. There's no way you can sell a product on Amazon and be successful if you haven't done the product research to establish if it's a good product. Then we're going to move to trademark and branding. For me, at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about a long-lasting brand, and you need to have a trademark and you need to have some real branding in order to do so. We're going to go over the cheapest and fastest shipping options because shipping is a big part of the game. 99% of the time, you won't be getting the inventory close by to where you live. In most cases, it might be coming from overseas. So locking in shipping is something that I always see folks having a hard time with. So we are really going to put a lot of energy into that today. One of the other big questions I have is setting up your Seller Central account. So I want to go over a few of the key components you guys should have in order to make that sign up process nice and easy. Then again, another big topic is actually listing your product. Listing your product on Amazon is not very clear cut. There's a lot of different steps you need to take within the Amazon platform. So we're going to cover a lot of those today. And then last but not least, the top 5 Amazon mistakes that I see folks make that I've made myself, etc. Our first topic, again, is that in-depth product research. Now, I have 3 components or 3 keys here that I like to teach folks that I think are really valuable and not really like regularly talked about. And we're going to go over them now. It's a high price point, advancing capacity, and niche expansion. So you're like, what do those mean? We're going to go over some in-depth definitions. And the first one is a high price point. Now, if you look on screen, you'll see these 2 different dash cameras, right? So you put it in your car, it records as you're driving. You can use it for insurance purposes in order to get your premiums down. But basically, it's recording what's happening through the driver windshield. Now, what's interesting is you have 2 products here. One is listed at $139.99 and one at $259.99. But they're in the same niche. They have a very similar function. They have the same box size. They have the same Amazon seller fees. They have the same freight forwarding cost from the supplier to the Amazon warehouse, but they're at 2 different price points. And what that means is that one of these sellers is making exponentially more than the other based on their list price. So I always tell folks, think of it as a spectrum from the cheapest to the most expensive. I actually like to be on the higher end of that spectrum because it allows me to leverage the Amazon fulfillment fees. And it also kind of sets a standard to the customer that you're selling a high quality product. So the high price point, higher on the price spectrum, I always find folks are a little nervous to go in that direction. They always want to sell cheaper products. But in my experience, I've actually seen this to work a little bit better. The only way to establish the average price is to use a tool. And throughout this presentation, we're going to go through some of the AMZ tools that I regularly use, not even after launching a product. Of course, you need them when you're launching a product, but after you've launched your product, you still need to kind of monitor where your niche is at, what the average price is, how many results are there, like how many sellers are there, what's the saturation score. So this is that. You are looking at all these different metrics right here that go over so many important statistics, so many important numbers that you need to pay attention to. And this is the AMZ extension, the web extension. So we're going to go over this again. I just wanted to put it in here quickly for you guys to take a look at, you guys to kind of get familiar with. Again, I'm going to show you more so how to use this, but you need to be able to identify these metrics in order to kind of have a strong pulse on the game. My next point here is advancing capacity. It kind of sounds like a fancy term, and this just means that your product has the ability to be better than what is currently out there on the market. And you may say, Andre, how do you establish a product that has advancing capacity? And I have a few quick, easy ways to do this. And one of the ways is to go on to the product that you're looking to sell and go to the reviews and click on the negative reviews. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a bunch of reviews listed that are showing you what is wrong with the product because they only have 1 or 2 stars. Then what I like to do is take those negative reviews, reach out to my supplier and say, hey, the suction cup for the windshield doesn't really stick well on these cameras. And what happens is I read a review that they keep on falling off. Is there a way that we can have a bigger suction cup or not even use a suction cup? Maybe we have some type of connection that actually connects to the rear view mirror, right? So you can be kind of creative in this process and try and think outside the box. How can you make this product better than what is currently out there? What's also really important is the ability to have multiple products within your brand, right? And we see this every single day, right? You know, Clorox owns Burt's Bees. J. Crew owns this. Coca-Cola owns that. All these different brands have other brands within them that they own and operate. And really, at the end of the day, you can have a couple different strategies, whether you're upselling other products. You know, maybe you're selling that dash cam and you also sell the SD card that inserts in it, right? You can kind of capitalize on multiple products that interact with each other, or you just sell other products in general under a brand. Maybe you sell in the health and household niche on Amazon and you sell multiple products in that same type of niche, right? They don't have to be the same product that complement each other, but they are products within the same niche. Beautiful. And again, just some more examples. My wife loves Burt's Bees, so I just thought of that, right? And it's just like, you know, who owns Burt's Bees? And then immediately you go and you start finding this trail of all these different things. So next on our list of these major topics that we're going to cover today is the trademark and branding. Now, I have to say this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects that I see folks kind of miss out on when they go to sell on Amazon. Is they're just really excited to start selling. And then what happens is they just kind of maybe brush through some of the fundamentals, the things that you have to do if you really want longevity in this game, if you really want to sell for a long time on Amazon. And one of them is you need to have a strong branding presence whenever you launch a product. And a major way to do that is by trademarking that product. So in this section, we're going to go about how you search for the name availability for a trademark. We're going to go over the different service class that your product will fall in. We'll go through a very quick step-by-step USPTO trademark application and the importance of the Amazon brand registry department that gives you so many different tools and access that you'll have once you're a part of. So coming in here, the first thing is name availability. I have in here an example, and I have a YouTube channel that kind of documents this entire process. And the brand that I created, this isn't a real brand, I just used it for demonstration purposes, was Dogs Daily. Dogs Daily was a ACL brace meant for dogs that maybe have a strained or torn ACL in their leg. And I don't know if you guys have a dog that gets the zoomies. I have a dog that gets the zoomies and goes crazy, and they can hurt themselves. So we established that there was a level of demand for this product, and now it's time to create this brand. And before you can even create your brand and get some of the imagery locked in, you need to establish, is the name available? So within the USPTO, the first thing you need to do is search, is that name accessible? Once you do that, you're actually going to search the service class that falls within. So it's important that we make sure that our service class is in line with our name, right? Or really not necessarily our name, but what our product is. If you're selling a dog ACL brace or some type of dog, we'll call it maybe tool or service, you're not going to sell within the makeup niche in the service class, right? So we just want everything to kind of coincide with each other. And then here is just a very quick synopsis of what you guys should expect, because I know there's a lot of people that say, what do I need when I do my USPTO or my trademark application? And here is just a quick rundown of what you'll do step by step, from creating your USPTO account to selecting the TEAS application. That's the application you want. Filing that TEAS application, inputting your business information, selecting the logo you've created, selecting your class, and then you want to go down to your input and payment, and then finally filing and paying. Last but not least of this section, a really, really important part of this whole process of getting your trademark is being a part of the brand registry department. Now, I've been selling on Amazon for years and years now, and I can tell you that I have had, I'm trying to think now, off the top of my head, I think I've had 3 different instances where I've had my listing hijacked. I've had competitors leave negative reviews. I've had some things happen that I had the brand registry department take care of directly, right? So once my listing was hijacked from someone trying to take my sales, I was able to contact the brand registry department because I had filed my trademark application and registered with brand registry. They were able to kick that person off my listing and kind of secure everything. So if you're going to sell on Amazon and you want to do it for a long time, or you want to have a brand that you can add multiple products to, getting your trademark application is extremely important. Getting your brand registry acceptance, right? It's a department of Amazon, is also very, very important. So make sure that you guys follow these steps. I know we'll have a lot of steps, but this is a very, very important one just to protect yourself, protect your investment. Important section is the cheapest, fastest shipping method. Now, we're going to go over 3 main variables: what you need to ask your supplier. We'll go over some of the differences between DDP, ocean versus air, and we'll go the 3 steps to create your Amazon shipping plan. Again, this shipping plan is, all these steps are so important, but if you do your shipping plan wrong, that means that you've paid for your inventory and then it's shipped to the wrong place, which is just like really tough situation. I've actually been in it myself. You want to make sure that you have that locked in. So again, our first 3 main variables are coordinate with your supplier. You want to make sure that you're using delivery duty paid, and you want to create your Amazon shipping plan. So let's get into those. First, you need to ask your supplier these main questions. Without the answers to these main questions, you won't be able to create your shipping plan. So I always tell folks, make sure you curate a relationship with your suppliers, right? Even suppliers that I've been working with for a while, and all I have to do is tell them how much inventory I need shipped back and forth. I just am nice to them. I talk to them on a regular basis. If it's a holiday for them, I'll say happy whatever holiday. I just think that goes a long way. And then it makes this type of situation easier when you say, hey, I need some important information. So ship from address is where the supplier will be shipping your products. So let's just say that you found a supplier from Alibaba and they're in China. Your ship from address is your supplier's address in China, right? So that's an important variable to kind of take note of. Not your address. Let's say you live in the States, I live in New York. I don't put that address. I put the address in China that I obtained from my supplier. Next, the type of shipping paper for the box ID label. What a weird, small little thing that Amazon wants to know, but Amazon wants to know. And if you don't know this, or you input it incorrectly, or your supplier uses the wrong piece of paper and Amazon isn't able to kind of scan it with their scan gun, you'll be in a situation there. Shipping carrier and freight method. Now, for me, I personally use DDP ocean or sea shipping. I use fast vessel shipping. For me, it's very convenient in terms of I can time things out when my inventory is getting low from when my new inventory needs to arrive, and it's very inexpensive compared to air shipping. So I encourage you to explore both, see what works the best for you, and the number of units per case and how many cases. Amazon has so many moving parts that they really need to know where the inventory, or excuse me, how many units are coming in to their fulfillment centers. If you're a new seller, you can't just send 5,000 units to Amazon. They need to establish and build some trust with you. And the way they do that is really having everything very transparent. How many crates are you sending? And within those crates, how many units do you have? Obviously, they also need to make sure they can store all of this. So they need the shipment dimensions and weights of the boxes. I'm having a problem finding what to sell. Just glance down, look at chat. I feel like I said that in the beginning too. It's one of the most kind of commonly asked things. I encourage you to stay to the end, because not only will we help you find what to sell, but we will actually show you how to sell it, because there's both angles to that you really need to know. So moving on here, I want to get into a little bit of delivery duty paid, or DDP, because you hear the term, you'll just hear someone quickly say DDP, but what does it actually mean? And we'll just use the China example, right? So I'm ordering units from China and having them sent to the US to one of the fulfillment centers with Amazon, and I want it DDP. That just means that my supplier is responsible for paying every fee associated to get my inventory from China all the way to the US. If you guys are not familiar, there's a lot of little fees, right? There's fees from moving the units or your boxes from one ship to another. There's fees established from getting things from one continent to the other, right? Especially in the States, you might have to pay tax. There's a lot of different variables that you just want everything all taken care of, so that when your inventory arrives in the US, you don't have to deal with customs. You don't have to deal with anything. Everything is just locked in and ready to go. Perfect. Okay. So what we need to do now is go over a little bit of your shipping plan. Now, again, your shipping plan is very important, just because if you mess up your shipping plan, your inventory will land somewhere else potentially, and then you have to pay a freight forwarder to then move your inventory again. Just do it right the first time and pay close attention, and make sure that everything is confirmed inventory to send. So that is when you're going in and creating that, your first tab, that's what you're going to click. Then confirmed shipping, you're just going to go through and then check those boxes. Are you using small boxes, big boxes? And then again, Amazon will then generate this label for you that you will send to your supplier. Your supplier will then print that out, slap it on the box. That way, when Amazon goes to scan that, everything is going to work just as it should. I am going to get into some of the statistics and some of the product research variables that I pay attention to, like the number of sales, the number of competitors, all those nitty-gritty things. But I just see a lot of folks kind of missing out on these. I mean, you need to set up your Seller Central account. You need to create your shipping plan. And this is one of the best ways that you can do that, is just following some of these simple rules. So now we're going to get into setting up your account. Before you set up your account, you have to choose what type of account you want, because there's actually two different types of seller accounts on Amazon. You can have an individual account, or you can have a professional account. Now, I just have a little screenshot here of some of the attributes, but I'm going to break it down nice and easy for you. An individual account, Amazon is going to charge you 99 cents per unit you sell. But the professional account, you're going to sell as many units as you want, 1,000, 500, 50, and you're just going to pay one flat fee. So what happens is folks are like, hey, I'm just starting off. I only want to, maybe spend $1 per transaction rather than $40 per month. And then what ends up happening is they start selling 5 units a day. And by day, let's say 5 or 10 or 20, they've now exceeded that $40 amount that they would pay for their professional account. So of course, the choice is up to you. I would personally recommend you to get the professional account. And if you ever need to switch your account type later down the road, you always can do so. So your first step is choose which type of account you would like. Again, I'm going to recommend you get the professional account just because it makes the most sense financially. Now, you're going to go on, you're going to create your Amazon seller account. I'm just going to let you guys know that if you already have done this in the past, you're going to need to make sure that you delete that old account or use that old account because Amazon is going to store your email. And I always see folks kind of having this moment where they're like, I can't create a new account because I have an old account. I don't have a new email. Make sure that you have that nice and locked in. Another important thing to know when you're going to go and create your Amazon seller account is you are going to need some important documentation that if you don't have, Amazon is just going to deny you, or they're just kind of put your application on hold. I've seen it happen, and it already is kind of like a little bit of a stressful process where you're kind of handing in all this different stuff. So you'll need a valid government issued ID or passport, a recent bank account or credit card statement, a chargeable credit or debit card, and a mobile phone. So before you start your application, make sure you have all those things ready. That way, when you're doing your application, you're not fumbling around trying to go back and forth and say, hey, I didn't bring my credit card with me, or I don't have my ID with me. Have all those things, have a little checklist. I think that really does help. Okay. From here, you're going to need to input some important things about your business. And I think some folks may start this process and they may not even have a business, and that's okay. You can totally do so. I wanted to include this part just in case you're in that position. And you'll see company registration name here. Company registration name is the tax identification number associated to your business. And you're like, well, Andre, I don't have a business. How would I have this tax identification number? Not to worry. You actually can use your social security number here. So I just wanted to point that out. I see a lot of folks getting hung up at this portion. They're like, hey, I don't have a business yet. You can use your social security number for this section, and that will just allow you to open up your account. Again, you're going to need a credit card that Amazon is going to charge when they bill you for your monthly bill, right? We talked about how there's the professional account and the individual account. Amazon needs to bill you, so you need a valid credit card or debit card on file. This is where you input that. Lastly, we're on the last section of setting up your Seller Central accounts, and that is your store name. This is like maybe this is the number one question that I get is, number one, what should I make my store name? Does it have to be about the product that I make or that I'm selling? Can I change my store name? We'll quickly address this. Yes, you can change your store name really at any time. And I always like to choose kind of a broad store name. So I'll just give you an example. We'll go back to the Dogs Daily brand. Dogs Daily just talks about dogs, right? It wasn't like ACL dog brace, right? That could be a store name, but instead, maybe you sell the dog ACL brace. Maybe you sell different types of dog collars, like a shock collar or a leash or something along those lines, right? Something within the pet and dog niche itself. So keep it relatively brand for your store name, or excuse me, not brand, broad for your store name. That way, kind of have some diversity in what you can sell under. And again, you always can change it. This next question, do you have a universal product code or UPC for all your products? Excuse me. You're going to have to select yes for this because you need one. And I'm going to go over that in a second here for our next section. I'll go over your UPC, but I see folks saying, well, I don't have a UPC. You need a UPC to sell on Amazon. So make sure you put yes here. Then this very last question, do you own a brand? You know, we talked about the brand registry department and we talked about your trademark application. And what I see is folks get in this situation where they applied for their trademark application, but they actually have not received it. That's totally fine. You can click no here at this moment and then get your brand later. That's totally normal. Okay, so we've gone over creating your shipping label. We've gone over creating your seller account, which account type to have. Now we need to go over setting up your product listing, a step-by-step guide. This is, if you go on YouTube and you just type this in, all these videos have tons of views because folks always run into problems. I actually remember now thinking about, I had a problem setting up my first product. So I just wanted to go over some of the main points. Some things are pretty self-explanatory, like how many units you're going to send. You just input how many units you send. But there are some other important information like your UPC that we're going to go over here. So what are the two things you absolutely need before you list your product on Amazon? And that is you need an Amazon Seller Central account, right? So that's why that section was before. Set that up. Obtain your Amazon Seller Central account. And then you need a barcode. You need a UPS or UPC code, UPS, a UPC code from gs1.org. gs1.org is the only organization that can actually sell you a barcode. They're responsible. They have this relationship with Amazon. In the past, you could have used someone else, but now you can only use GS1. So once you log into your Amazon Seller Central account, you're going to go to Add Products at the bottom left under Catalog. And then from there, you're going to type in the product name after saying, I'm adding a product not sold on Amazon. And then this is where that UPC really comes into play. You're going to go into the product ID and type in the UPC code into that product ID. Next time you're shopping, next time you're doing anything, I'm sure even at your home now, you can pick up anything and it will have a barcode on it somewhere. And underneath that barcode, there will be a bunch of numbers, right? So that if you were to type those numbers into a barcode machine, it would actually generate the barcode. Something interesting I learned in this whole entire process. I didn't know that. Those numbers are responsible for that. So your product ID, you're going to put the numbers from your barcode, and then you're going to select UPC. You're like, where are all these options? GTIN, FAN, OCID. There's a bunch here. So you want to make sure that you choose UPC. Perfect. Then at the very bottom, what you're going to do under brand name, again, is that brand that you established that you put on your trademark. I'm just using Dogs Daily. Oh, we have a dog. I love dogs, so I always use dogs as my example. If anyone has a dog here that's watching, drop a 1 in chat. I just feel like dogs are great. They just bring so much joy to the world. Brand name, you're going to make sure that you put what you put for your trademark. Okay. Again, this is just reiterating that exact same thing, and that is through the USPTO, right? Through our trademark. Next, in the list process, you're going to go into the manufacturer is yourself. I see folks regularly getting confused, like who's the manufacturer, if someone in China is making it or wherever your supplier is. Manufacturer is the brand that you are selling under. So make sure that you input that there. Again, some generic information. Does your product expire? For us, the dog brace doesn't expire, right? It's not a perishable item, so you're good there. And moving on from here, you have to input your price, quantity, and condition. Very last but not least on this section, your fulfillment channel. Fulfillment channel, what does that mean? You have 2 different fulfillment channels that are open to you that really will heavily dictate your flow, your success, and that's FBA versus FBM. I'm going to go over more in detail those different channels, which one I personally choose, which one I personally stay away from, and some of the differences behind them. Okay. I'm going to go next here. I don't know about you guys, but I have Amazon Prime. My folks have Amazon Prime. My friends have Amazon Prime. All the people that I regularly talk about buying something on Amazon Prime. And what that does is establish this large clientele base. And Amazon really is the king of e-commerce when it comes to customers trusting the platform. And one of those attributes, right, one of those things that really complements Amazon is Amazon Prime, right? You get your product within 2 days. You can return your product at any time. So being a part of that is extremely powerful. That I always encourage folks So really sign up for Fulfillment by Amazon, or FBA over FBM, Fulfillment by Merchant. If you're a Fulfillment by Merchant, that means that you're picking and shipping your own products. Amazon isn't doing it. Unfortunately, you can't be a part of Amazon Prime. If you're FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, Amazon is going to store all your units. They're going to put everything in a box. They're going to ship it to your customer, make sure it's on time. Everything's going to be just locked in. Look at this. Chris, in the US alone, there are 350 million subscribers. Just exactly touching on what I was saying with this large clientele basis of active shoppers. It's one of the reasons I love Amazon, because the folks that are on there are there to spend money. And I've done other forms of e-commerce. I've sold on Facebook before. And if you're scrolling on Facebook, you're just on Facebook. Maybe you're browsing for entertainment. You may be looking at the news. But if you're on Amazon, you're there to shop. So for me, the large clientele basis is extremely valuable. Okay, now we are at a section where it is very important to make sure you follow directions, and that is uploading your listing images. If you see the see image guidelines, you'll click on that and it will bring down this drop down of all these different variables you need to make sure that you follow when uploading your images, because Amazon is so specific in what they want. And it's happened to me. Actually, it happened recently to one of my listings. I had my listing suppressed because I didn't follow one of these rules specifically. And I was like, oh, I've been selling on Amazon for a while. Like, I'm sure this won't be a problem. I listed the product and then I wasn't getting any hits on my PPC. I wasn't selling the product for a little bit. So I went in, called seller support, and they're like, oh yeah, your listing is suppressed because your image goes against our guidelines. And then I went in and reread. So make sure you read these guidelines and make sure to follow them, because it really does make a difference in the way Amazon shows your listing. Again, here are just some images that I created for the Brand Dogs Daily, just really utilizing some, kind of universal branding techniques where you can kind of tell everything is made by the same person, where there's the colors that are complementing each other. You can really tell that there was time and energy spent to show the customer the functionality of it, why it's good for them to buy, etc. Okay, product description. I always see people getting confused with product description and bullet points. So I wanted to touch on that because it's such a important question. These here are not, this is not your description. These are your bullet points, okay? Then if we were to continue to look, these are your descriptions. So the bullet points and the descriptions are two different things. Make sure you have the correct one in the correct place, because I see folks regularly kind of like switching them up, and then they're in a position where they're like, I don't know why, Andre, my bullet points aren't showing up, but my description is. So make sure you guys can differentiate those, because that is important. Again, this is just showing you in the list process where each of these are. And then we're into another section here that just goes over kind of the important variables of your product. Like, does your product have any warnings, or does it have some type of description that we need to know about to keep our customer safe, right? Super, super important. Make sure you know your product well so that you can kind of divulge that information to Amazon so they can inform your customer. Chris, everyone has Amazon Prime. I know, it's crazy. Everyone. I don't even think I know too many people that don't have Amazon Prime, now that I think about it. And I'm a seller on Amazon and I have Amazon Prime. It's like everyone has it. It doesn't matter if you're a seller or just a buyer, everyone has it. Okay, so now we are going to go over the top 5 Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon mistakes, that I see folks make. And I've seen folks make these. I've made them. So I wanted to kind of put them together because I just feel like knowledge is power. And when you're investing your money into something, one of the most defeating feelings you can have is in making a mistake that maybe ends your progress altogether, right? Like you have to stop what you're doing, or just like puts a hard stop where it takes you a while to push past. So the first is analysis paralysis, no branding, FBA over FBM, product research, and reviews. So let's go into each one of these individually. And the first is analysis paralysis. Do you guys like this dramatic picture I found of this woman? She's looking at something scary. This is representing that when you are trying to find a product, you can't settle. You find a product, you think it looks good, but then you see, oh, it has too much competition. Then you find a product, it looks good, but then it doesn't have good profit margins. And you find a product and it looks good, and then you're just nervous because you just said no to 2 other products, and you're like, well, why is this product good? So analysis paralysis is something that you just have to get over. You have to commit. You have to be that person that takes action. Again, we'll talk about taking action at the very end here. And if you guys haven't, make sure you stay tuned to the end. Write down your questions because we're going to have a very special offer that requires you to take action. And that's why I like this analysis paralysis, because you just feel like you can't, but you have to actually make the step to do so. The next is branding. And you see A+ content. You may be wondering, what is A+ content? A+ content is a feature on Amazon that you only can be a part of, or you only can have on your listing if you are part of the brand registry department. So in the very beginning, we talked about the brand registry department and why you want to be a part of it, because it gives you access to A+ content, or what I like to call precious web browser real estate. And when you're like, what does that mean? And basically what that means is when you have A+ content on your listing, Amazon allows you to put these giant pictures that captivate the user. They get the user's attention. So instead of one small little picture off to the left, your customer will scroll down and they'll see these big engaging pictures and videos that make them want to convert on the sale. And I've actually had listings, right? I've had products that have had A+ content and haven't, and every single time I always end up putting A+ content on the product that didn't, because I compare and contrast the sales. And for me, it's a no-brainer. Yes, it costs time, it costs money, it costs energy in order to make A+ content, but it's so valuable. So make sure you guys brand, make sure you guys are a part of that. Again, we're going to quickly touch on the FBA over FBM. And I see folks wanting to save money, and they think they can do it themselves and use FBM, or fulfillment by merchant, over FBA, fulfillment by Amazon. And I don't care how much time you have on your hands. I don't care how many boxes you have in your basement that you think you could package products. It's just impossible. Amazon is a very well-oiled machine. They do this all day long, literally 24/7. The warehouses do not close. They are just cranking all day long, and they have a sense of efficiency, right? They're very efficient at doing it, better than you or I could ever be at it. So let Amazon take the reins on that. I've also sold products through Amazon fulfillment by merchant, and I've noticed that my sales were not the same as they were through FBA. I don't have any statistical or hard evidence just between comparing and contrasting, but I think the Amazon algorithm pushes fulfillment by Amazon. I mean, think about it. Amazon is making more money when they have to do all these different services. And last but not least, your product will be enrolled in Amazon Prime when it is a part of fulfillment by Amazon, and it is not enrolled in Amazon Prime when it is fulfillment by merchant. The next part is product research. I see folks that will go onto a listing. They think it's a good product to sell, and I'll say, why? Tell me why. What does the average monthly sales look like? What does the average monthly revenue look like? What is the average price? What is the average number of reviews? And they start going through them, and then I'll ask the question, why does that make that product a good product to sell, right? If the average reviews is 1,736, that actually has a meaning behind it. And if you were to ask me, I always like to have those numbers have a set average that I want to be below or above, or I won't touch the product. So for me, there's many times that I'll see a product that may have a good average monthly sales figure, but has a bad average reviews, right? So if it has a good average sales figure, let's say it's selling 3,153 units per month, but then the average reviews is 1,700, that shows me that there's a lot of sellers selling this product, because the only way to get reviews is to sell a lot. So the more reviews, the worse in regards to the level of competition. And there's other ways to establish that we're going to touch on in this webinar, as well as I want you guys to kind of ask me in the comments below, what metrics have you been using? I would love to kind of answer those questions specifically to say, hey, if you're looking at an average monthly sales volume below 200 units a month, it's probably not enough sales volume for everyone to make a lot of sales, right? You want to see a higher figure there. One of the main attributes that I see folks miss out on is focusing on getting reviews. Now, reviews do a lot for you, and they help with your organic rank on the platform. Every time you sell a product, your rank moves up or down. And in most cases, when you sell a product, you get a positive review, your rank will jump significantly. When I mean significantly, you can be ranked, let's say 1/1,000,000th in the niche. The higher the number, the larger the number, the worse. The smaller number, the better. I've seen someone just recently, I have a Patreon that just sold 2 units in one day. They hadn't sold a unit in, let's say, a day or two. They sold 2 units in one day. They went from 1,000,000 to 500,000. They jumped that much in selling 2 units in one day. So part of that is getting reviews. You really want to make sure that you encourage your customers to leave a review. Amazon doesn't allow you to ask your customers for a 5-star review. It's actually against their terms and policy. So you have to be very creative in the way you do this. You can use the Amazon Vine program, where you send your product to designated customers for free in return for a review. You also can leave very generic little thank you cards in the box of your unit that just say, hey, a small business wants to thank you for your purchase. We really appreciate your honest feedback. Would you take time to leave us an honest review of what you think of the product? So if you can focus on a few things, one of them must be getting reviews. Any way you can, as long as it follows Amazon's terms and service, I promise you it will do nothing